Hi, it's Russell Cummings from Shifft. Welcome to our third video in the Positive Intelligence series. This one is on building your positive intelligence score. Now, I'm going to assume that you've watched the previous two videos in this series, and all our discussions are based on the great work done by Shazad Shamin in his best-selling book Positive Intelligence, where he looked at mental fitness as, I guess, as a percentage of the time that you're being positive as opposed to the time you're being negative in our minds. And he created these terms: SAGE for positive mental states and Saboteurs for negative mental states. And a quick recap: the SAGEs are the positive energies: empathy, innovation, navigation, exploration, and activation. And you can see those. And then we have 10 key saboteurs that tend to drive us. And the judge is the master saboteur, but it's ably supported by 9 other accomplices. And each of those other 9 accomplices is triggered by the judge largely, and they often are hardwired responses that we find it very difficult to change. So how do we change our PQ score? So how do we spend more time in a positive mental state as opposed to a negative mental state? And I guess that's where we want to go next. And there are 3 key strategies that we can think of about increasing our PQ score. And the 3 strategies are relatively simple. So we weaken our saboteurs, we strengthen our PQ brain, and then we need to strengthen the SAGE. All right, so let's just talk about each of those strategies in order. Weakening our saboteurs, right? So basically, they've found that if you are in a negative emotion for more than a second, you're in what they call saboteur mode. And there are 3 key steps to weakening your saboteurs. The first one is a longer term one, right? You really need to understand and know your saboteurs and study your saboteurs and discredit their lies and limiting beliefs. So the first step in all this is to go and read more information. If you read the information pack that we provided, you'll find that there's a lot more detail on the saboteurs. And you will need to understand those saboteurs. But importantly, they don't want to be discredited. And you're going to have to think about the lies and things that your mind tells you in order to hang on to those saboteurs as long as possible. So understanding is the first step. Then you need to become aware. So it's about thinking through and listening of what are the negative thoughts or voices that are part of your reactions and behaviors. And you might even have them now. You're thinking about this and you're going, what a load of twallop this is. But that's just the judge stepping in, right? And so, I don't have time for this. What's this guy getting to? All those sorts of things. It sounds all touchy-feely to me. It's not very relevant. All that sort of stuff. That is your saboteurs trying to take control and steer you away from it. So take the time to just become aware and stop and prop and think when things are going on for you, particularly when you've reacted in what you'd call a negative way, or you're thinking you might react in a negative way. Just stop for a minute. And then do this process. So label the saboteur that's at work in your thoughts and emotions, right? So in that moment, label them. Go, okay, that's a very judgy thing, Russ. This is me talking to myself. Thanks for your input, Judge, but you are no longer required today, or something else. And in the book, there's a whole heap of things that you can do. But what we want you to do is to stop and label them, right? Because that becomes then awareness, right? So you start to get then awareness of which of the saboteurs are actually taking part. So it might be the judge, it could be the stickler, it could be the hyperachiever, whatever, and you're beating yourself up over something and you go, okay, hyperachiever, and you can give them names, hyperachiever Russ, hyperachiever Hank, whatever works for you. Give them names that make sense, the devil, the bull, whatever it happens to be, whatever makes sense for you. Give them a name and give them a label and say that thank you for your input, but I no longer need you. All right. So that's the first step, is to weaken those saboteurs by naming and shaming. Okay. The second step then is to strengthen your PQ brain, right? So in the book, Shazad talks about the need to strengthen our self-command muscle, right? which is that muscle, that muscle in our brain, and he uses the term muscle in the brain, but it's that process in the brain that deliberately moves us away from saboteur to sage mode, out of child brain into adult brain, if you watch my previous video. Now, it's really interesting. The PQ reps are a 10-second PQ rep, and they become really powerful ways to command your mind to quiet the region where your saboteurs live and activate the region where your sage lives. To be honest, I thought 10 seconds, you've got to be kidding me. It's really quite a powerful tool, and it's actually really, really helped me take control of this situation, all right? So every time you intercept your saboteurs, I want you to do a PQ rep, or they suggest you do, doesn't care what I want. They suggest you do a PQ rep in order to pause and they allow you to choose a sage response. So what's a PQ rep? So a PQ rep is very simple, right? It involves shifting as much of your attention as you can to your body and any of your 5 senses for at least 10 seconds. That's one PQ rep, right? So what happens is these reps activate and grow your self-command muscle, will helps you to self-regulate your thoughts and feelings. So examples are touch. So, I'm very tactile, so touch really works for me. So rub your fingertips together and focus on feeling the fingerprint ridges rub against each other. Another one's breathing, right? You want to focus on senses or your body, right? So breathing's a great one. So concentrate on breathing in and out. Feel each breath. Count each breath in and out. So you just focus solely on the breath and not anything else going on. Hearing. If you're really strong or auditory, then you might want to concentrate on isolating a sound in the background until it's all you can hear. So what you're trying to do is focus on that. Sight, the same thing. So focus on an object in your field of view and examine it in minute detail, looking for all the subtle nuances of shape and texture and colour. All right. Taste or smell. You place a small piece of food or drink in your mouth and savour the taste, trying to discern the components that make it up. Or pick a particular smell in the room and try and determine what it is. So these are all simple things that are about shifting as much of your attention as you can to your body and any of your 5 senses for at least 10 seconds. It sounds very simple. It is very simple, and it's very powerful because it just works. I actually thought this part of it would be a whole heap of rubbish, and it's not. It's actually I found it really powerful, and I find that when my saboteurs are taking control, rubbing my fingers together or focusing on my breathing are the two that work for me. I find them fantastic and just allow me and really concentrate. Like, you can't have other thoughts going ahead. If you really concentrate on feeling the fingertip ridges or breathing in and out, or listening or smelling or seeing or whatever it is that you're focusing on, if you really concentrate that to the exclusion of all other things, you'll find that the saboteurs go away and the sages start to take control. So the PQ program really says that during your day, every few hours, 3 or 4 times a day, focus on a specific PQ rep for 2 minutes, all right? So you want to hold it for longer and get used to it, and that's about building your self-command muscle. And it enables you to then easily move from saboteur to sage. Now, if your brain is saying to you, 2 minutes a day, 3 or 4 times a day, I don't have time for that crap, just think about what you're saying. You don't have 8 minutes in a day to help you take control of your positive brain and move away from negative thought. Yeah, so that's your saboteurs just getting in the way. All right? Now, my suggestion is that you do this 2-minute thing, so 8 minutes a day. You do this in addition to this 10-second reps after you've labelled a saboteur. So during the day, you want to go through and as you're thinking about what's going on in your head, I want you to label your saboteurs. Every time you label a saboteur until you no longer need it, I want you to do a 10-second PQ rep. And then 3 or 4 times a day, it would be great if you could do 2 minutes in order to build that rep and build the strength in that muscle. Okay? If you make this a daily practice every day for 3 weeks, you will find that you'll build really strong PQ or change, the self-change muscle, the self-command muscle. All right. So they're the two main things that you can focus on. Once you start to get control over your saboteurs, then you can really start into the third one, which is strengthening your sage. All right. So we all have 5 sage powers that we can meet at any challenge. And when you switch to the Sage perspective, you have access to all 5 powers. And there are some exercises you can do to help boost your Sage and gain deeper access to their powers. All right, and we're going to do a separate video where we just step through strengthening your Sage. So what are the next steps? So the next steps are to work through those processes of understanding your Sage, labeling your Sage and calling them out, and then move to doing the PQ reps and building your strength in those PQ reps to help you build that self-command muscle. Okay, so that's all you have to do at this point, is just start that process. Okay, my recommendation is that you do read the book or listen to the audio book if that's the way you've functioned, and just really start to take control of that I guess moving to that positive intelligence or that positive mindset that's going to help you move on. All right, so thank you for participating in this video with us so far. There's a couple more left in the series, and as usual, if you have any questions, please make sure you contact me. Have a great day. Bye.